James, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I always love to talk about email marketing. It's one of my favorite topics. So thank you, and I can't wait to get into this.
Yeah, me too. So for those of you that don't know James, he is the advisor coach, as it says on your sweatshirt right there. You're
Oh,
rocking
it does
here.
actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
you got it
Yeah.
going on. And you know this advisor wealth management world. Like, not only do you know it, but I feel like you also like you're living it. Like you're the one that's in the data, you're doing the advising, you're talking to people, you're having the tough conversations, and specifically know this email component of it, which we're going to get into in a minute. But before we kind of like get into the nitty gritty about email marketing, workflows, all that fun stuff, tell us a little bit more about you. Like, how did you get to the seat that you're in right now, and what kind of wakes you up every day to do what you're doing?
So I do have an absurd amount of data. A lot of that comes from talking with financial advisors every single day for the past almost 7 years now, in and out. The newsletter is in its seventh year. People ask me questions every single day. I'm having conversations about everything from content marketing to social to referrals to networking to you name it, right?
Yeah.
So long story short, I've always been interested in personal finance and marketing.
Yeah.
And this is a beautiful way to weave the two together. I've actually been involved in the marketing world for almost 2 decades now.
Hmm.
So I have been, let's just say, marketing for 10 years and then marketing with financial advisors for
Yeah.
another 10. And it's been a wonderful journey. And that is pretty much the long and short of it. I transitioned from marketing into marketing for financial advisors because I helped an advisor with his marketing.
Mhm.
Surprise, like that. It's so simple. I don't have this huge,
Can relate to
um,
that. Totally.
I don't have this
Going. Yeah.
backstory that's super sexy or anything like that. Just help this person.
Yeah.
He got results. Then he gave me a referral. Then my name started to get spread around because I mean, financial advisors know other
Sure.
financial advisors.
Yes.
And I was like, I should probably charge for this and like charge more and take the show on the road.
Yeah.
Started a company called The Advisor Coach, which I have on my sweatshirt and still have today. Don't do any coaching, have transitioned into an information or a publishing model. That
Yeah.
way I can reach far more financial advisors at scale. And it's from a selfish entrepreneur perspective, it's a
Yeah.
far better business model.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
that is where I am right now.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, right? Like you learn along the way and you're tweaking and you're really wanting to make sure you're constantly adding the best value for, what the market's demanding. So, okay, let's like lean into this email marketing side of things, right? Because you not only are you helping, advisors with this, but you've got a pretty awesome, email list that you're also managing on a day to day. Tell us more about that and kind of how did you get on this bend of email marketing and a little bit more about like what you're helping folks to actually do with email marketing.
There are a lot of reasons why I love email marketing. And the reason why I do email marketing is because it's super effective from a business standpoint.
Mhm.
For me personally, it is a great conversion mechanism to get financial advisors to be clients and customers of mine.
Mhm.
And the same is true in almost every service industry.
Mhm.
If it is a relationship business and someone will be working with another person, whether that's an advisor or an accountant, but in my world, advisors,
Yeah,
it is very important to build trust, credibility, and rapport before that sale, quote unquote, sale takes place.
totally.
And email is one of the best ways to do that because you can give people a little bit of trust building, a little bit of rapport building, a little bit of credibility building, and
Yeah.
then again and again and again every single
Yep.
day.
Constant
And
adding that value.
totally. And also, there have been so many studies which have suggested there's a guy named Robert Clay that did one. If you just Google Robert Clay follow up study, the majority of conversions happen after the fifth follow up attempt. And with email, that's very easy because that's like a week of daily emails.
Yeah.
So I started to realize you could get the bulk of your conversions as quickly as possible if you just had a way to follow up. And email is that way to follow up. And people don't get upset about it because they're the ones joining your email list. So
Hmm.
that is like the tip of the iceberg, but it's a
Right.
win-win-win from that standpoint alone.
Right. Okay, so can we talk about that first component of it, right? Because you could buy a huge list, dump it in, start blasting people. I mean, like it's not easy to build an authentic list of like people that actually are opting in and like what carrot are you dangling to get them to opt in? Like, wow, I mean, you've got one of the biggest list. for this advisor community. Like, tell us, how did you even go about that? Like building your name, like actually giving them something that they want that would actually add, like would be worth their time, right? We're all short on time. So how did that
Well,
happen?
that's the secret. The secret, it if I were to go back in time, I would spend a lot more time working on my lead magnets. And
Mhm.
I have good lead magnets today, right? But
Yeah,
that is the advice I would give someone. If someone is just starting out and
right,
you're in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to tackle this email marketing strategy,
right.
your mind immediately goes to, how can I write great emails? And that's valid. That's wonderful. That's a part of the equation, right? It is necessary, but it is not sufficient.
Right.
The lead magnet is so important. If you take your lead magnet and you put it in front of your audience,
Yeah.
or a potential person, a potential client,
Yeah.
and you say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, this, and this. If they say anything to you
Hmm.
except, where can I get that? It is
Hmm.
not good enough. It has to be amazing. And the reason it has to be amazing is because when you put it in front of people, they're going to have to opt into your email list. That's
Yeah.
how you build the list, right?
Yeah.
So ask your audience, put it in front of them, shop it around. If someone tells you, so in the book, Secrets of Closing the Sale by Zig Ziglar, there's
Hmm.
a story where Zig had a prospective client tell him, "Oh, you're such a good salesperson, or you've really got this pitch down, like you're
Right.
nailing this." But
Right.
they didn't, that the person didn't buy.
Uh-huh.
So if someone says, "Oh, that's really pretty. That's really good. Good for you. That's wonderful," but they don't ask you where to get it,
Yep.
it's not good enough. Scratch, like, get rid of it. I know it's hard to kill your darlings, right? As the
Yeah, yeah,
writing
yeah.
saying goes, but you have to do it. It has to be amazing.
Yes. Okay. So like really listening to your audience, like, do they actually want it? And they're like, give it to me now kind of thing. But like in what form, right? Because sometimes we see people that will be like, well, what do you think of this lead funnel, right? And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, okay, the magnet field, like it feels off, right? It could be a great landing page, it can be a great whatever, but like what like are you giving away ebooks? Like what do you even recommend as like the magnet? Is it a webinar? Is it just dependent on the audience?
So
Or is
for
it just the
that's
topic
actually a really good
most
question.
important? Yeah, go ahead.
For the longest time, I thought PDFs are the way to go.
Mm,
And PDFs are still some of the best performing lead magnets that I've seen people put out. But the more I start to interact with advisors and really dig into the data and understand people more. I mean, I thought I understood people years ago, but now it's like every day I'm learning something new. I'm
yeah,
starting to realize that perhaps, now I'm not saying this is as a sure thing, but
right,
perhaps the best lead magnets are the ones that follow the expectations that you set. Meaning, if you are meeting with your clients over Zoom or you
right,
have video chats with them,
right.
then perhaps delivering a video lead magnet makes more sense. In my case
Interesting.
specifically, now this may or may not apply to financial advisors. The PDF lead magnets work exceptionally well for me because
Yeah,
financial advisors can buy more PDFs from me and I have like
right,
written content. So I'm
right,
attracting readers who will then read more. So
yeah,
financial advisors, if they have a webinar, that's
right.
kind of like a meeting, especially a live webinar. So the
Yes.
person who is attracted to a live webinar is likely going to be attracted to meeting with a financial advisor over that same medium. I hope
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yes, that totally makes sense. So in other words, and like basically a nutshell is like you have to not only like know your audience, like know the medium that would make the most sense for them to absorb it, but like what they actually want, and something that would add value. Okay, so like let's say that you test it and you're like, can you talk a little bit more about the data side? Like once you kind of like get it out there, how do you know if like your hypothesis if it's a good lead magnet is actually working or not? Like, are there certain, KPIs or things that you're specifically looking for? There's like, yeah, this is dead on. Is it like just people subscribing? What would it be?
It would be people subscribing. But after that, you basically look at the emails. And the most important thing in my case is appointment set. Open rates are cool, click through rates cool, like all of that is nice. But you could have a super high open rate and no appointments.
Right.
You could have a low open rate and more appointments. One of the things that is really funny when I see people talk about open rates and like high open rates,
Yeah.
first of all, the to the best of my knowledge, and this may have changed, iPhone counts loads as open.
Oh, yes.
Well, when someone's loading your email, like that doesn't count. Like it's not real. The second thing is you could have an extremely high open rate with a crazy subject line that
Mhm.
doesn't really mean anything and doesn't lead to an appointment. But if
Yeah.
I have a subject line that says pre-retirees in Georgia, please read this,
Hmm.
right? It would
Hmm.
get a low open rate, but the people you want to read it will read that email
Highly
and have
qualified.
the opportunity to take action. So I focus on appointments. Now, sometimes I'll get criticism and people say, "Oh, well, I don't get paid based on appointments. I get paid based on clients." The
Right.
the data answer to that is for most financial advisors, it is hard to gauge statistical significance with
Hmm.
clients simply because there is not enough data, right?
Hmm.
So if I can't gauge based on clients, I gauge based on appointments. And in the rare cases where I can't gauge based on appointments, then I try to look at other metrics.
Okay.
But that's rare. That almost never happens.
So let's talk about, let's assume you got this killer lead magnet, right? You got to still show up. Like it takes a lot of effort to be able to figure out the right carrot to dangle. So those, let's just call it 5 emails after, just a series of emails. Like what, I mean, is there a method to the madness? Is it like telling a story through the emails? Is it connecting them, from one to one? Is it like, what are you talking about? I mean, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And then how are you, sorry, a lot of questions, but like, then how are you even like validating it, right? Like how, share a little bit more if you don't mind about kind of that whole, okay, got them, they're interested, let's keep them engaged.
So when someone subscribes to your email list through an opt-in, like an ad or through your social or on your
Right.
website, if you're a financial advisor and you have done your job well, you
Hmm.
know two things for sure. You know that they know you're a financial advisor. So you offer
Hmm.
financial advice and financial planning. This is obvious, right? Because they're opting in from a financial advisor's social media or a
Hmm.
financial advisor's website. The
Hmm.
second thing you know for sure is
Hmm.
that they have not set an appointment with you.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay. So now you know that they know you're a financial advisor and that you
Right.
have these services and that you have a particular niche market or whatever, right?
Right. Right.
But they haven't moved forward. So the goal is to remove those barriers.
Right.
They're hesitating for some reason. So you are getting them to not hesitate anymore. So many
Hmm.
financial advisors think, "Oh, I'll send more information and more education and more education." And that can help diminish the "I don't believe you're knowledgeable" objection, but it
Hmm.
does absolutely nothing to handle the "I don't think I have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't know what your process looks like, I don't know what your initial meeting looks like, I don't know if this is a good fit for me." There's so many other hesitations.
Yeah.
If you're a young financial advisor, the hesitation might be you don't have enough experience or you're too young. So
Yeah.
in email number 2 or 3 or 4, you could tell a story about how people think you're too young to help them, but it's actually an advantage because you will be able to work with them for their entire lives,
Hmm.
whereas other financial advisors will retire along the way and leave you high
Yes.
and dry.
Yes.
So that's kind of like the gist of it. I think a lot of financial advisors could be extremely well served if they literally, and I mean this for real, literally sat down with a pen and paper and
Mhm.
at the top of the paper wrote reasons why people don't work with me. And reason number one, reason number two, don't have enough time, don't have enough money, don't,
Right.
I'm intimidated by the financial planning process. That's
Right.
huge. I mean, I
Right.
did a whole study on that last year. That's the number one reason is people are intimidated by the process. So
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? And then the most common reasons, make each one of your emails and explain that away because people have those hesitations, people have those objections. And for
Right.
you to believe that they don't, that is naive. And for
Yeah.
you to
Fair.
ignore them does nothing to get them closer to an appointment with you.
Okay. So that's an awesome way to think about an outline, right? Because it's like things that you're addressing fears, like concerns or people, questions they might want to ask and lessons learned that you've had. So I'd also be curious, like if you're in a sales seat and you're having those initial prospect meetings, right? Would those kind of questions that may come up, would those also be good to put in there? Like, what is your process like? Things like that. Are you thinking to hit more of the stuff that's like the fear-based stuff or the why I wouldn't work with you to kind of pull them on the other side?
I'm not sure. And the reason I say that is because when you answer questions that people in front of you have asked, so in
Yeah.
this case, prospective clients, it could also be clients. One of the most common pieces of content marketing advice is to make content about the questions your clients are asking you.
Hmm.
That can be very dangerous. And it's related to the question that you're asking because survivorship bias is in it, meaning you are only getting questions from people who have made it to you. So you're
Yeah.
kind of jumping over the whole process of like, what about the people who never set an appointment in the first place? So
Yeah.
I would do it, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, content is content, and
Right.
obviously people are asking questions for a reason. But
Right.
I would never make that all that I do simply because of the survivorship bias.
Super interesting. So I guess like in a way, if they're already talking with you, they sort of qualified, or hopefully they've qualified if they're somewhat a fit.
Yep.
But then if you're addressing the questions where they could be potentially qualified, or they could learn when they would be qualified, as you're helping them to sort of navigate them before they even have a conversation with you through these emails. Is that fair?
Yeah. And I mean, studies have been done. I think advisor value propositions by Pershing and BNY. I think that's it. I could be wrong, but there's one study that found that people search for years of experience, certifications,
Yep.
location,
Yep.
investment philosophy, things like that. The study has already been done. The research has already been done.
Yep.
Polls have already been conducted. People
Yep.
say, when I go to an advisor's website or LinkedIn profile, this is what I'm looking for. I
Yep.
want to see these things. So
Mhm.
why not put that in your email? Email number one, your welcome email. Hey, I'm John Smith. Hey, I'm Sarah Brown, whatever. I
Yeah.
am a financial advisor. I have this many years of experience. I'm in this location. I serve this niche and I have this investment philosophy,
Yep.
right? You're in the very first email, you're checking off each box, right? And the reason that's so wonderful is because not everybody does it.
Yeah.
And so many advisors say they don't say this to me explicitly most of the time, but
Yeah.
they say it implicitly. And they say, "Oh, my clients come directly to me. When
Right.
if there's a referral, they just come directly to me and like
Yeah.
they don't interact with any other financial advisors." That's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
people shop around for financial advisors.
They shop
They are
around.
having multiple appointments. They're going to multiple websites.
Yep.
Like, I'm sorry if that burst your bubble, but it is reality.
It's
But
true.
if you handle all of those things, people will start to think on an unconscious level, you have already fulfilled many of the needs that they have, all
Yep.
many of the desires that they have. And not only is that smart business, it's incredible positioning because
Yep.
now you have people becoming unconsciously attracted to you and they
Yep.
don't know why. Like
Yep.
that's the evil like psychology marketing of it. You have handled everything that they want.
It's honest, and you're helping to address what the issues are kind of up front before perhaps they even been asked, which helps you get deeper faster when you actually have a conversation. So super interesting. Okay, so are you delivering these in like a written format, video? Is it dependent on the list? What maybe I'm answering my own question by talking about your answer that you had earlier, which was sort of around the target and how they would absorb, the questions. But what's been your learnings through the data?
Plain text, like
Plain
words.
text.
Yep.
Okay. Like that's it. Like just plain
Yep.
text. Like
Hmm.
plain text, like as if it's coming from an individual or if it's coming from the company.
Individual.
Okay. And like personalized text. Like, hi John, it was great. Thanks for joining our webinar, whatever it was, lead magnet.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. So
Okay.
sometimes people personalization is not necessarily, "Hi John, hope you're doing well, John." Like insert first name here, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've never seen that work for me. I have seen it work for other people. Full disclaimer, it's just
Yeah.
I personally only ask for email and my stuff works just fine, right?
Yeah.
Some of the personalization that I like now, it doesn't come from the initial email. Now, this
Right.
is super advanced, okay? So
Yeah.
this is like something
Strap
financial
in.
advisors. Here we go.
Yes.
So the personalization that I like comes from the reply. And I'll
Mhm.
explain what I mean by that. I purposefully like to talk about books and movies and TV shows and things
Yeah.
that I know people on my list are watching or listening to. I know this, right? I read very esoteric stuff and very niche stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have an example with me, but if I said like I'm reading right now, I'm reading Evolutionary Psychology by Dr. David Buss.
Hmm.
No one listening to this show is reading that book. Not a single soul. It is literally a Harvard textbook about
Yes.
evolutionary psychology, right?
Fine print,
So
I'm
if I
sure.
were to write an email about that, it would be dumb. Like it
Yeah.
would be a big mistake because people
Yeah. Yeah.
wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to relate to me.
Hmm.
But if I write an email about the game last night and I
Right.
say, wow, the Steelers really had a blowout last night, didn't
Right.
they? That was awesome. Oh, by the way, and segue into the email. Just that one little sentence
It's like,
I
oh yeah,
I will
like
get
those five.
replies from people
Uh-huh.
saying, "Oh yeah, I saw that too." And again, they begin to think, this person is just like me. This person reads the same books. This person watches
Yes.
the same, like it's all intentional. You could, if you're a financial advisor with a geographic area or who serves a geographic area,
Yeah.
one of the most effective things that you can possibly do is to talk about landmarks in that area. If you're in Miami, talk about Joe's Stone Crab. Talk about what you're doing on South Beach, because
Yeah.
now you are going to the same places, eating the same meals, you're running in the same circles as the people who are receiving your emails. And if you want to talk about rapport, that compared to like, oh, here's what the stock market did last week, it's
Right.
unreal how much more effective it is.
Totally get it. It's funny, we see it in the data too. Like when we look at just websites, bio pages skyrocket. Of course, homepage is going to be number one, but people care about like they care about people. They're shopping, but it's a human to human business and it's a trust business, right? So that's part of that, like cultivating and building those relationships. Okay, so going back to these emails, are these automated emails that are are these individual email automated?
They can be both.
Well,
So
okay.
if when a financial advisor comes to me and if a financial advisor doesn't know anything about email and the financial advisor says, James, what should I be doing? My
Yeah.
answer would be, you should create an automated sequence of between 5 and 12, again, because of the data. Most
Right, right,
conversions
right.
happen after 5, they drop off after 12. So automated emails, 5 to 12, you put them in there, they handle the objections, they tell stories, they entertain, they build
Right,
trust, credibility, and
right.
rapport, all that good stuff. Then you go live your life, do whatever, right? Come back in 6 months, look at the data, see which emails do horribly,
Hmm.
swap those out, and then
Yeah.
move on with your life.
Yep.
Now, if you want to write weekly emails, so when I say daily, I mean daily emails, the emails in the sequence get sent
Yeah.
out every single day. So if someone
Okay.
joins your email list on a Tuesday, that person will get an email Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But once the person has done that sequence, if you want to continue writing an email every week, so the person will exit that sequence, go onto your main list, and now you just send an email every week to your main list. That more power to you if you want to
Yeah.
do that. I don't think you need to. I
Mm-hmm.
think the sequence does. I'm an 80-20 guy. So
Mm-hmm.
80% of the results are going to come from 20% of that effort, period.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some people out there who want to squeeze every last bit of juice out of everything that they have, which I
Yeah.
admire, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so that would be the way to do it.
Super interesting. Okay. We're running up on time. I do want to, I think we talked about, like your list, what happens after that list. I do have a question though. I want to swing way back to the beginning of like, okay, we've got the magnet. How do you build an audience? Like, what is your tips? Do you recommend paid ads to be able to get the magnet in front of people? Do you recommend commenting on forums? Is it like part of like I don't know, a workshop at the end of the workshop? You're like, okay, everybody sign up for my list. What have you seen that works for advisors to be able to help kind of build up your audience to know that the league magnet is actually there?
All of the above. Uh, Let me answer your question with a question. The average sale
Mm-hmm.
revenue
Mm-hmm.
of that Nike gets per customer is $110. How much profit do you think Nike makes on $110?
Probably a decent amount of money is my guess. So, I don't know. I have no idea.
It's $11, shockingly. But
Oh, wow. That
let's
is
say we
shocking.
quintuple that, right?
Okay.
$55. Okay. We'll just say a new CEO comes on and makes it amazing, right? The lifetime value, if you start to think, oh yeah, it could be high or whatever, forget about all that. We're talking about $11, right? Now, think about how much money Nike spends on one sponsorship.
Mm,
Millions,
yeah,
right? Then
totally.
they do millions more in branding. They do millions more in ads. They are spending so much money to
Right.
get that $110 sale with $11 profit.
Yeah. Okay.
Now let's compare that to a financial advisor's metrics. How much money do you make per client? How much money do you make per financial plan? You have recurring revenue. Like you have, my dear financial advisor, metrics that other companies would salivate over. They
Hmm.
see financial advisors' metrics are like, oh, I wish I had high ticket, recurring, high retention. Like the retention
Yep.
rate is 90
Is
plus percent.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I'm in a subscription business and I work my tail off to get churned down. And I have some of the lowest churn ever, which is so hard. Like it makes me want to pull what little hair I have left out. It's
Yeah.
hard, right?
Yeah.
But financial advisors have it relatively easy compared to companies like Apple, Nike, and like all these other huge companies. So just think about that financial advisor. Maybe it makes sense to put a little money in your marketing, maybe paid ads. Maybe you could hire someone to help you with social media. Maybe
Mm,
you could hire someone to help you with your content to refine your existing strategy. So many advisors are afraid to put money into marketing
yep.
when it's just I don't want to give the impression that it's just super easy because it's absolutely not. It's difficult.
It is,
But
yeah.
I mean, compared to other businesses, come on. Like you can't be serious. It's amazing compared to other businesses.
Once you got that client, you take good care of them, and a lot of clients do stay for a long time. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, yeah, super interesting. Okay, any final thoughts?
I would say don't be afraid of email marketing. Just like your website works for you 24/7, making a good first impression, hopefully it never gets sick, never takes a day off. Neither does your email automation sequence. It
Mhm.
continues to work for you all the time, continues to shake hands, metaphorically speaking. It continues to break
Yeah,
those barriers down for you that you, again, you know for sure exist. Why wouldn't you do it?
yeah.
So I love that. And I think it's just something that if an advisor can do it, I think an advisor should do it.
Okay. So I know you've got also, speaking of lead magnets, an awesome like ebook. I think you said it was like 80 tips or what, 80 pages or something. Was
Yeah,
it
it's 80.
five?
So
Yeah, go for it.
I think advisors, even if you're not interested in getting on my email list and you're like, oh, not another email, because I know you get hundreds of emails, right? I get it if you're the average financial advisor. If for no other reason you opt in to see what a good lead magnet looks like, you should go to theadvisorcoach.com/ the number five, the number seven MT. That's 57 MT. And it stands for 57 marketing tips for financial advisors. It is an 80 plus page PDF with 57 marketing tips for financial advisors.
Love it.
That lead magnet works extremely well for me because it is something that financial advisors want. Also, it sets the expectation in the very beginning. If someone listens to my podcast, the Financial Advisor Marketing Podcast, they say, "Who I'm interested in marketing. I'm going to listen to this." They
Yeah.
opt into the email list, which offers more marketing. Then they can graduate and move on and get more marketing. So
Yeah.
I actually call this the pepperoni pizza rule. If you have pepperoni pizza, you
Yeah.
should offer pepperoni pizza. You should talk about pepperoni pizza, and you should have that in your ads. Don't talk about this secret sauce recipe or how your mom came from the old country, like
Right,
all of
right,
this
right.
other uh, stuff that doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
Give people what they want. And in
Hmm.
this case, in my case specifically, financial advisors want marketing tips. So I offer that over at theadvisorcoach.com/57MT.
Awesome. Thanks so much, James. We'll make sure to include that link below as well. Thank you. This was so fun. So many
Thank you.
insightful tips. I also just really appreciate how not only like tips, but then like we got a little bit more into the nitty gritty, right? And so I think there's some really good takeaways. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.